welcome to Ping Pong Critics' review of Legend of Korra Book 4, Episode 1. I'm Daniel.
I'm Nick.
And to preface, I just want to say spoilers, because everything up until this point, you better go catch up before you watch this video.
Just watch the shows. The first one's great, and Legend of Korra is pretty great. It's not the best around.
First one being Avatar, of course.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get to it at some point in time.
Maybe.
All right. Now, let's go through the episode chronologically. Obviously, first, once we start, we get that intro with the announcer welcoming us to Republic City.
Right, I do like that. I like how it shows how the world, because at the start of Book 3, it seemed like Republic City was just a shit place to live, but now they show that these spirit wilds have turned into almost an attraction as well as a negative for mostly an attraction.
Yeah, and it shows progression, and obviously there is a 3-year time jump, and we will discuss that in more detail later on in the show.
Oh yeah, and also the Air Temple Island, how they introduced that, I think it's very clean because we don't really know what the Airbenders are doing precisely, but this Air Temple Island gives us almost all the context we need to know exactly what their operation is, and the rest of it is filled in when we meet Kai and Opal later in the episode.
That's right, and obviously there's the introduction in black and white, and it fades to present day with realistic colors. Alright, so we see what Asami has been up to this entire time with the rail system, and we get an introduction to a new character we've never seen before, Prince Wu, I guess the next in line, or rather the king of the Earth Nation.
Prince Comedy Relief.
Comedy Relief, that's right, and Exposition guy. Exposition, that's right. You have any thoughts on him in particular?
He's annoying. Some people might find him funny, probably. I think Nick has some writers that they add to this team who just try and make the show funny for kids, and it doesn't work.
Yeah, Season 3 was pretty dark, especially towards the end.
Season 3 was good at that, but Season 2 had a lot of crap at the start of the season.
And you know what? I actually think that might be intentional. They might be intentionally... I mean, they're definitely intentionally making this character seem like an idiot, right? Like, he is nowhere qualified to rule an entire nation, right? Comedy Relief, the failure of that, it's a hit and miss. For me, it worked to an extent, right? Sometimes it was overdone. I like the pie scene, but...
You know what they could do? They could say, he's actually an evil mastermind.
We'll have to wait and see. Maybe that would work.
Because one of the things I really hope that they do with this episode, this season, is that they make it very unfocused. No main villain, no major enemy or conflict, just this world trying to sort itself out and, I guess, achieve balance. Yeah,
and obviously Korra, like her building back up from where she was at the end of Season 3,
Which can take a lot of forms, and we don't need a main conflict to do that.
And I think that a main conflict could help with that, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see how this season pan out. Obviously, it's just Episode 1. It's just 22 minutes. And yeah, alright. So moving on, we do get a scene of the Tenzin's family, so I thought that was kind of nice.
The characters were never really elaborated on. They tried to elaborate Jinora, but they failed miserably.
I don't think so. I disagree. Her spirit powers, I feel like, make her a unique character.
Yes, I don't disagree that she's a unique character. I disagree that she's really a character at all. She has some character-like elements, but she's not very deep, especially almost all the characters in the first show, Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah, and that's partially, and I think that's partially the problem, just because Korra just has so many characters. We have the entire Tenzin's extended family and his family, Lin and her force, the Metal Clan now, and we have Republic City, all the political figures there, Korra, her family, the old characters back from The Last Airbender. There's just a lot of things they have to go through, and they have to tell the story of each. And what you end up with is you get some great storytelling in some aspects, like the villains are always almost always fleshed out, and you get a good backstory to them. While sometimes you do miss out on characters like on Tenzin.
Basically all of Tenzin's family.
Yeah, Milo's great though. Okay, so now we go to Kai and Opal. They come through their air bison.
Flying squirrel suits.
Flying squirrel suits, wingsuits. I love these wingsuits.
They're pretty great. I think that they do a great job showing the new Air Nation, how it's grown.
Mm-hmm. World Jedis, no?
What?
World Jedis. They go about.
Yeah.
Yeah, they help out people who need help, and yeah, they're just like peacekeepers, if you will.
Don't pretend like you grew up with Star Wars, Daniel.
All right. Regardless of that, yeah, I do like their wingsuits. I feel like that it makes Air Nation more of a body of people, right? More of a force than just like some ragtag group of people.
And they do that in other subtler ways too, like when the mayor talks to them, like, I called for your help days ago or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It sets them up very subtly as a fixture in this world where if you have a problem, you call the Air Nation for help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of them just trying to be Batman.
That's a great detail. Yeah. And that's partially because of the 3-year jump. You get to establish stories and lores that, you don't really have time to do on screen, and yet all these elements come into play and tell the story you want to tell. Yeah, you're right. All right. So we go to Kuvira as the antagonist of book 4, or so it seems. We'll have to wait and see how that works out. Do you have any thoughts on her character? Like, her introduction was via the train.
Yes, I know that you like the fight scene a lot.
I absolutely
with the bandits.
Mm-hmm.
I'm indifferent about it for the most part. I think that I think that someone might have been impressed by it, as you were, but when you actually look at it, it's mostly just Kuvira going like, wah, 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 wah.
And in case you couldn't see that,
No.
Nick was doing some very fancy gestures. Well, I kindly disagree. First of all, I liked her, like, metal map pieces into socket type thing. That was very cool, and it was very creative, and generally it was a creative episode. I think the action scene was absolutely awesome, especially as an introduction to her character. We did see her in book 3. They were trying to build her up to book 4. Not so much in book 3.
I don't remember her at all from book 3.
She was in the finale. She's the soldier that...
Was her name mentioned?
Yeah. Tonrock was like, "Oh, what is your name?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm Kuvira."
I'm a bitch.
Well, we'll have to wait and see how that turns. Actually, yeah, absolutely agreed. But it was very creative how she used her, like, part of her armor, the metal bands.
Yeah.
And, like, she's such a badass.
And overall, this is something I've always liked about the Metal Clan, and this will probably continue to happen, is that everything's metal.
Yeah.
Their culture is about metal,
Mm-hmm.
which actually, when you think about it, it has nothing to do with the philosophical elements of metal, but everything that they do is about metal,
yeah,
which is really cool.
Mm-hmm. They definitely do a really good job of establishing it as a nation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. I just want to mention really quickly the translation to the contract Kuvira hands to the mayor roughly translates to, and quote, "The Dirt Kingdom temporary big president Kuvira," and it's just a funny little tidbit there. All right, that's essentially it. We go back to Republic City. We see, yeah.
You mentioned this before when Kai's shit gets stolen because Opal's useless.
Oh yes, that's right. What a detail. Opal's useless. That's right. So when they're flying supplies in via the air bison, they're attacked by bandits, and believe it or not, one of the bandits that attacked them is the same bandit that Kuvira earlier defeats when the train's attacked in that valley. So yeah, I mean, it's subtle. I love that it's subtle. They don't come right out and say it. It's something that you have to really pay attention to see.
And when you look at it as a TV trope, it makes sense that they would do this kind of stuff. I was half expecting it, but what I wasn't expecting is that you could actually find evidence for it.
Absolutely.
And a lot of shows aren't ballsy enough to actually let the audience figure it out. Mm-hmm. And it's great when you can go back and say, yeah, you could have figured this shit out. Why didn't you?
Yeah.
You're an idiot.
So it was great when that happens. All right, so we come back to Republic City. They meet up. Oh, I want to really quickly touch on Mako and his position. He's not a main focus of the episode, but we do see that he's going with Prince Wu to the Earth Kingdom.
I mean, it's a smart move, I guess.
Maybe that's how they will meet up, as in Mako and Bolin.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we didn't mention Bolin is now part of Kuvira's army.
This is a great way to make him
Excuse me.
useful, I guess. To put him in a position where he could be useful if the show isn't stupid like season 4 and season 2.
Season 3 and season 2.
3 was good.
You said 4.
I said 2.
Yeah.
Well, I said 4 at first, but then I changed it to 2.
Oh, okay. All right.
Not 2.
Clarification.
I mean, not 3. 3. Bolin wasn't useful in 3. He just had Deus Ex Machina powers.
Yeah. It's what the show's about, Nick. It's all about the circle of life. Or
I
storytelling.
thought you were going to say Circle of Deus Ex Machina powers.
Circle of storytelling. How's that? Okay. Lack of Korra. Broken Korra. So we go back to Republic City. We see Tonrak arrive. And then, obviously, the big reveal. Where is Korra? She's been gone for the last 6 months. And we cut to, presumably, somewhere in the Earth Kingdom. Underground Fight Club. Korra gets the shit beat out of her. And then we have that moment where it's like, oh, you look like that Avatar chick. What happened to her? And then she's like, I wouldn't know. I feel like that was an just incredible moment for the episode. I'll express my thoughts after you do. Go ahead.
I don't have a lot to say about it. I mean, the moment was good, I guess, but it wasn't particularly shocking. It wasn't particularly anything. It's annoying because I can't say that they could have made it better because they probably couldn't, but I can't say anything remarkable about it, really.
Huh. Interesting.
It's like Bioshock Infinite.
Shh. No spoilers, kid. Yeah.
Fucking spoilers.
Sorry, audience, if Nick teased you there. Go play that game, by the way.
Go play Bioshock, then Bioshock 2.
Or we're getting off task.
Bioshock Infinite.
Anyways,
Part 1.
back to Korra. You know
I was
what?
not excluding anyone.
I thought that moment was great. I really did, because the entire episode, and you know it's coming up to the end, and you're just like, where is Korra? Right? We want to see what happened to Korra, because at the end of season 3, she's just such a broken character. And I love broken characters, because that's really where you can build a character back up again. You can really get deep into storytelling, excuse me. And I just thought it was a great moment, and the fact that she's like, oh, I wouldn't know. Just that subtle expression there just makes me think that Zahir really got to her. That the idea that the world doesn't need an avatar was really bothered her. And you know what? It's sort of meta, both in the show and outside. People have been discussing, hey, you know what? Korra hasn't been the best avatar, right? A lot of the conflicts, if she were not there, wouldn't have happened. And I mean, obviously, the Equalist is something else entirely. However, just in general, she hasn't been the best avatar, and the world could arguably be a better place without her, right? And I feel like she's also addressing that issue herself.
And I think one of the reasons why I was saying that the season might be better if it was very unfocused was that you could simply have Korra going through this world 3 years in the future, seeing that it is much worse than it was when she was not interfering.
Yeah, I expect a calling, or a calling of the hero, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing. Wait.
Yeah. You want to think about that? I'll move on to the next topic. All right. So that's essentially all we wanted to talk about. Specific elements, at least, inside the episode. I'm sure Nick will come up with what he was thinking about earlier. Now, episode as a whole, in relation to the entire season, the entire show, the entire series, balancing and pacing. Let's get that out of the way first. What did you think about the balancing and pacing? I know you had a problem with it.
As far as pacing goes, the thing is, I can't really complain about the pacing much because I know they don't have much of a choice. As the episode went on, it was very well paced, but then as we got into the end of it, it started. I wanted to see more of Korra, but they needed more time to do that, so they didn't have a whole lot of choice.
I hope they dedicate a future episode just to Korra, because, You know what?
Well, that's the next episode is called Korra Alone.
Oh, brilliant. Obviously. A callback to the original Avatar show, Zuko Alone.
Which was one of the best episodes.
Yeah, I agree. It focused completely on Zuko, and I really, really enjoyed it.
And, I think that would probably been a wake-up call for anyone watching the show at the time, thinking, Zuko's a villain. Shouldn't he be fighting Aang and the fucking fuckers?
Okay, that's balancing and pacing. I thought that the episode in itself was paced okay. Obviously, I too wanted to see more Korra, but I felt like there was a lot of exposition that they had to get out of the way, and they did that very elegantly.
One thing that's kind of weird about the episode is that whole arc, not really arc, but whatever, about Opal and Kai getting the food, pretty unnecessary. Couldn't they have shaved 5, 7, 8 minutes off just by the mayor saying when Kai suggests that they should get food from other provinces, that he just says, "It's just freaking bandits."
They could have, but first of all, there was a small plot line there, which was Kai and Opal's discussion as to the state of their relationships, like romantic relationships, whether that be Kai and Janora or Opal and Bolin. Now, it wasn't a big point that they were trying to make, but it was an exposition once again they had to get through somehow, and it's also character building for Kuvira, as we discussed earlier. Yeah.
With her thing about having planted the bandit to do it.
That's right.
I do think that could have been done. Like, we could have shifted the scene where... this might have been how it was originally. It's been a bit since I watched the episode. We could have shifted the scene...
You mean what? We just watched it just now. What are you talking about, Nick?
Okay. They could have shifted the scene where the bandits are attacked to before Kai and Opal first get to the city.
Mm-hmm.
And then just have one of the people raiding the city be one of the people Kuvira captured.
Okay. Sure.
It just seemed... It wasted time when this episode was so short on that.
Yeah. Alright.
And I'd like to compare this episode to the season pilot of season 3, because that's one of the best pilots I've seen, even though as an episode it's probably not as entertaining. Probably has something to do with how I binge watched the first couple episodes of season 3.
Yeah.
But, so, for example, I was really excited when I first saw it, how there were new airbenders, and how cool that was.
Yeah.
And by the end, they didn't go too far with it. I was really hoping that was the entire premise of the season. It would all be about new airbenders. I think that could have been great. I do like the direction they went in, but we're not talking about season 3, whatever.
Yeah.
With this one, they try and make it a bit more of an episode and less of a presentation to an episode, and I'm not sure if I prefer that. I mean, presentation to a season, and I'm not sure if I prefer that over what season 3 did.
Which was slowly introducing the story as episodes went on.
No, more like the first episode is entirely... The point of it is to get us excited for the rest of the season.
Okay.
I think that this episode tried to more actually get an episode that we would enjoy.
Really? Huh. That's interesting. I'm going to have to go back and watch that episode in season 3. Well, that actually is a great segue into what I want to dedicate some time to, which is why I really like stories on characters rebuilding themselves, and why the 3-year jump is just great. Breaking away from the traditional storytelling of exposition, setup, filler, subplots, action, and finally payoff and finale. You know what? The 3-year jump gets the characters to a point in time where the storytellers could tell a story they want to, rather than spend all that time trying to fill this time gap. Also, Korra, as a broken character, really need time to develop, right? She needs time to go from wherever she was, which was, on a wheelchair, to how we see her in this episode. Still broken, but she's trying to move on, right?
She's strong enough where we don't have to watch wheelchair Korra fight.
Yeah, that's right. That would have not been very good. Yeah. Okay.
Well, when you mentioned the time gap and how that's good, bad, I think it's very good because, like I said before, everything can be a fixture in the world instead of just something new that these side characters can react to.
Yeah.
So I think the Air Nation is a great way. I think this episode does a really good job of piecing out characters. So Bolin is with the is in the Earth Nation, and Mako's probably going to go there too. Then Lin and Asami are in Republic City. Then Korra's Korra alone.
Korra alone, that's right.
And then we get Kai and Opal plus any other Air Nation people that we know just going wherever the fuck they need to.
Yeah, sounds good.
So I think that really is something this episode did well.
Yeah, sounds good. Just want to spend one more moment on the 4-season system of this series. So, unlike Avatar: The Last Airbender, where the 3 seasons were tightly integrated over an overarching story, right? Defeating the Fire Nation. It was very straightforward, very simple, and it works surprisingly well. While in this show, every single season is an independent storyline, right? So every season they have to set up something, and then they have to attack it, right? They have to go through this arc through 13 episodes, really, just 13, rather than the traditional 22 that Avatar got.
20
episodes.
Yeah, that's a problem. One thing that I think this show could have done really well is just have Korra explore this world that she doesn't know about.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mentioned before a little bit that I wish season 1 was a lot less focused. Mm-hmm. So rather than us focusing first on the Equalist rally, and then next on the, first on the pro-bending tournament, and then on the Equalist stuff, it could have just been her dealing with the government, the broken government, then dealing with the Equalists a little bit, probably, and then dealing with the Triads, and then trying to fix Republic City to an extent.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a conversation for another day. Perhaps when we go back and review season 1, which we'll definitely do, maybe.
But what I'm getting at here is that the entire show could have been what season 1 should have been. So rather than having these individual stories or even a full story, we could have had just one show about Korra exploring the world. I think that could have been interesting. Yeah.
And that's not as much of this episode as in the show in general. But I feel like, you know what, in general, it just as a conclusion, this episode has the potential of setting up a great season. And that's really its purpose, which is to tell us what's going on, what has happened in the past 3 years, and then allow the rest of the story to pan out from there, right? And I feel like in terms of that, it did a great job. All right, we will each score this episode out of 5. And just to clarify, we rate movies out of 10, TV episodes out of 5, TV series out of 100, and games out of 100. All right.
I give it a 4 out of 5.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, you've justified that rating, but is there any additional thoughts you want to?
Well, I've said this to a minor extent a little bit ago. This episode, it does a really good job of setting up these characters, but one thing it tries to do and doesn't do as well as other episodes can do is actually make an episode with a plot of its own. That's fun.
Okay. Yeah, and I am going to give the episode a 4.3 out of 5 because I enjoyed it more than you did, and I'm sure that was reflected from our discussion. I thought the pacing was great. I thought that despite the fact that we did not see as much Korra as I wanted to, we were able to spend time with all the other characters, and we get to see where the world is at from the past 3 years. And most importantly, we got a really, really solid introduction into Kuvira, the new antagonist, as a new character. All right, and finally, is it Nick approved?
Yes, it is Nick approved.
It is Nick approved. Perfect. All right, well, thanks for joining us for our review and discussion. We will definitely review the rest of Book 4, and stay tuned.